So, I've decided to start us out here at Pterodactyl. Wait, how do you pronounce this? It's Pterodactyl Park, right, Andy?
It's actually pronounced Pterodactyl Tark.
Oh, Pterodactyl Park. Okay, sorry, excuse me. Yeah, so this base, this is actually my base currently in this community, and as you can see, it is. You're right. It is Pterodactyl Tark. Clearly, that's how that's supposed to be pronounced. The P is silent, I believe, is a joke. So one of the most familiar things that we've got here, though, is this pterodactyl. So Brant and I, if you have been watching the State of Decay streams for the past several years, one of our go-to events was we would head up to Jurassic Junction in the original map, in the original State of Decay. Brant would always shoot down this fiberglass pterodactyl, put it in the back of a pickup truck, and try to get it all the way down to Spencer's Mill. Sometimes he failed, sometimes he succeeded, but now he has finally scored his final victory, his ultimate victory with his pterodactyl. It is now here for the rest of time. How are you feeling about that, Brant?
Well, I'm super excited that I was able to make it there, and it will never move. It is not a movable object. It is there forever. So all the doubters, all the haters, look what happens.
So we're gonna start out. We're gonna start our little tour here in Spencer's Mill, which is, this is the town where the original State of Decay first really got going. This is where you settled your first proper base. And actually, why don't we head up there first to sort of to have a look at where it has ended up. I'm gonna sort of make my way through this puddle, up these stairs. Oh, I love the way our vehicles are tuned so we can do stuff like that. I never really took the road to the Church of the Ascension back when I lived there in the original State of Decay. I always just sort of made a beeline for it through the wilderness, and the new map is no exception. There's no reason not to do that.
You're an environmental monster.
I really am. I'm just leaving tire tracks everywhere in the world. So, as you can see... Oh, we got some zombies following me here. You can go away. All right. So, as you can see... Even yet more time has passed with these sites compared to the difference between the original State of Decay and Heartland. I'm curious. So Doug, you had to basically revisit each of these sites, especially the major landmarks that players were going to remember, and and not just sort of make them look older, but have them sort of tell a story about what has happened since the last time the players been to this map. And it's like you had to touch so many different places in order to get this to work.
Yeah, initially we had a list of way more things than we were actually able to touch just because we were excited about what we could do telling the stories beyond Heartland. But yeah, a lot of these, like the church, it was able to get another pass on it, new set dressing inside that continues the story, and outside the church as well. It all plays into the narrative stuff that Andy's been working on.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it was fun going back to it and not just, making it all work as a core map.
Yeah, so when you come to this church initially, early on in the game, nobody's living here. It's all abandoned, and you can't claim it as a base yet. For what and we're going to talk about that a little bit later. The fact that we basically went for an entirely new set of bases with this iteration of the map. But there's a lot of
with one exception.
With one exception. Oh yeah, that's right. There is one exception, one very key exception that we'll get to a little bit later in the stream. But yeah, so I think that one thing that we did try to do, though, I think Andy could probably speak to this a little bit, is we really we planned out a bunch of story content for this map that can't be seen at any other map, where most of the maps, the way that you experience missions is our missions are designed so that they can work anywhere, so we can have the same set of missions that work on every single map, no matter where you are, no matter where you're settled, no matter what's going on. Our missions can work almost anywhere. But we had a different approach in Trumbull Valley, where we've actually got specific missions that are going to take you back to these memorable landmarks and sort of give you a chance to experience something here that you can't experience anywhere else. That was a really new thing for us that probably took a lot of extra effort. Would you say?
Yeah, indeed. As soon as we decided to shift our focus on Trumbull Valley from just to do a map, as if that's a small task, to also instill it with a greater amount of narrative content, we realized that we had an opportunity to tell some unique stories. Trumbull, unlike our other maps, has a lot of history behind it. Players have been here for many, many hours. We have lots of characters and stories that have happened here. So we felt that the only appropriate answer was to have our new narrative content be unique and play off of those characters, those stories, and those places. So it was a unique opportunity for us to tell some more specialized stories than State of Decay has traditionally told, at least State of Decay 2.
So yeah, it does feel a lot like sort of a return to form. Like the original State of Decay 1 had a lot of stories. It had some randomly generated missions that could happen anywhere, but it also had a set of missions that there were sort of the story missions that would really take advantage of specific locations on the map, specific characters, and we're kind of going back to that model of storytelling when you play on this map.
Yeah, I think that's a reasonable comparison. Folks who've played Heartland have will remember that that version of Trumbull Valley has a very, very specific storyline that you play through to essentially to the exclusion of all else. This is more of a hybrid approach between what State of Decay does and what Heartland did, or what the original State of Decay did, where you're still going to see random survivors pop up with their needs. You might see many familiar missions and storylines from the core game, but those are going to be interspersed with stories that you'll not see on any other map. Those are the ones that really tap into what makes Trumbull unique.
So one of the things that players are going to notice, particularly players who played State of Decay Heartland, is the fact that, you know, in Heartland, one of the biggest differences between the Trumbull Valley you experienced in that DLC versus the Trumbull Valley you experienced in the original State of Decay was that there was this plague gunk that had just infested so many sites on the map, especially in downtown Marshall, which it basically completely demolished practically that part of the town. And places here, like the Fork in the Road Diner, were just completely overrun with this gunk. And now it's turned into husks. You can see that some time has passed. Something has happened here. I'm really curious, actually, about sort of the work that went into transforming every chunk of plague gunk all over this map into something new. Doug, like what kind of effort went into all of this?
I mean, originally, I don't know if we might have just been leaving the plague stuff in there as the red, you know, like it was in Heartland, but it just felt weird. It didn't feel like time had passed and all the plague zombies had been gone. Because that's all Heartland was mostly plagues, or all plague zombies, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it was completely dominated by the plague. That was part of the.
Yeah, we wanted it to feel like the plague had been kind of taken care of, not taken care of, but you know, kind of, yeah, sort of taken care of to the extent it was in Heartland, and then some time had passed also, and then so we wanted to figure out what dead plague walls and husks had looked like, and we basically figured they had died after all the plague hearts had been killed, and then they're just kind of extra fertile and they could grow these plants on them. It gives it a whole new look that's different from Heartland, and it just makes it look like they are definitely not active anymore.
Yeah, I love the sort of the colors and things that you chose here, because it's not just greenery taking it over. It's actually these colorful plants, these sort of heather-looking plants and these yellow flowers. Like, you really sort of made it feel like it's more than just, oh, it's overgrown, like many apocalyptic maps are overgrown. It feels particularly sort of fecund, like there's something special going on here. And there's actually, like, there are stories that kind of go into the details about this that you'll experience, that we're not going to spoil them too much, but there are characters you can follow, their missions, that sort of give you a little bit more insight into what's been going on with these plague infestations, since the story of Heartland was completed. So I'm going to hop in my car here and start heading north a little ways, because one of the major plague infestations that we had in Heartland was actually there to serve a very specific purpose. So you might be aware, just if you sort of time out the updates that we've made to the game, you can probably figure out that we actually spent significantly longer building the new Trumbull Valley core map than we even spent on the Heartland map. And one of the shortcuts that we needed to take with Heartland was right over here with this tunnel. This tunnel, one of the most sort of iconic screenshots that we use to promote State of Decay Heartland, was this tunnel being completely blocked off by plague. And so there was a reason for that, wasn't there, Doug?
Yeah, I mean, when Heartland was being worked on, it just, to finish it on the time it was supposed to be finished, basically needed to cut off big chunks of the map in order to just focus the whole story down on the lower part of the map.
Yeah, so if you look over, if you look at the map in Heartland, there's sort of a cutoff point right here where this entire sort of northern peninsula of the map is just gone. And similarly, this river is a cutoff point in State of Decay Heartland. And now this whole section here called Fairfield has been added back in. So,
And Doug makes a really good point about how that helped us in Heartland keep the story more focused, right? Those two areas were very crucial in the original State of Decay. They were literally the beginning and end of the story, but in neither of them were you expected to spend very much time. You had an experience and then left, and then you go over to Fairfield at the end and do something and leave again. So they didn't help much. They didn't contribute much to that Heartland experience. So cutting them also really let the player of that game focus much more on that core valley area, that sort of farmland loop.